Oh, shit. Here we go again.
Yo, Dean. So yeah, I will say this though. I'll answer that question. So if Muhammad heard something about the Exodus, right, and he decided to say something different, right, I will admit he did make an edit, but it's incorrect. And his assumption.
Okay, but that's irrelevant with Islamic dilemma, dude. That's irrelevant.
Huh?
Okay, can you tell us what the Islamic dilemma is? Because I think it seems like, bro, the conversation I had with you 2 days ago, and even the conversation. Wait 1 second. I'm gonna let you speak, dude. Don't worry. Even the conversation that we're having today, you still don't know what it is.
Even Leafy admitted if he makes an edit, he can still be wrong. I don't know why you keep bringing.
Yeah, but that's not the Islamic dilemma.
Just wait, Dean. Yeah, so Life, just wait, Life. So if I understood you correctly, brother, what you're telling me is that Muhammad edited it, but he edited it incorrectly, correct?
If Muhammad goes against the previous scriptures that he says that he's in line with, he's wrong. Absolutely.
Right. All right. Cool. So can you read this quote for me, bro?
I'm not going to read all of that. You can read it.
All right, cool. No problem. I'll read it. So this is from a historian. His name is Shlomo Sand. He's an Israeli historian, right?
Mm-hmm.
He says, quote, according to the biblical narrative, the people he led through the wilderness for 40 years, this is talking about the Exodus, included 600,000 sand warriors. They would have been traveling with their wives and children, implying a party of around 3 million in total. Aside from the fact that it was utterly impossible for a population of that size to wander through the desert for so long, an event of such magnitude should have left some epigraphic or archaeological traces. The ancient Egyptians kept meticulous records of every event, and there's a great deal of documentation about the kingdom's political and military life. There are even documents about incursions of nomadic groups into the realm, yet there is not a single mention of any children of Israel who lived in Egypt or rebelled against it or emigrated from it in any time. Further mentioned is the biblical story, right? And then he goes on to say here, no traces have been found in the Sinai of any significant movement of population through it during the said period, right? And the location of the famous Mount Sinai is yet to be discovered. So what he's saying here is that according to the Exodus account, the biblical narrative, 600,000 men went from Egypt into the Sinai. We have no evidence of this at all. The Egyptians who kept meticulous records of it, they didn't record it. The nomadics, they didn't keep any record of it. There is no epigraphic or archaeological record of it. And he's saying we have a reasonable, aside from he's saying it's even impossible for a population of that size to wander through the desert for so long, because it would have left some epigraphic or archaeological trace, which we have none. So here, is the Bible making a historical error, or is it not making a historical error? That's what I want from you.
Yeah, no, I don't believe the Bible is making a historical error. I do believe that people are making a case, right? And that's cool. That case can be dissected. But if this is your criterion, I answer the question. If this is your criterion, then you're going to have to establish how the most notable scholars and historians agree that Jesus was actually crucified. So if I pull a source, hold on, give me a second. If history like this makes Muhammad right, then history like that makes Muhammad wrong, right?
No. Yeah, no problem. I'll deal with the crucifixion, but first deal with the Exodus point. If you just say I don't know, I'm not familiar, that's a fair response as well.
No, bro. I told you this is
a good point. I think don't do the Christian shuffle, bro. You just Life. You just got done, remember telling me that, okay, I don't want you to go to a different point. I'm putting you on one point. And if you want, after, we can go to the Christian, the crucifixion. I don't mind, all right? But you're going to answer me on the Exodus. Now, when he says that there's no epigraphic and no archaeological evidence, is that a historical error when it says 3 million people went through the Sinai? Yes or
no? Who is saying that? You saying this guy Tony is saying that?
No. It's not just Shlomo Sand. It's literally every single historian worth his salt.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I would have to dig deeper into their case for their argument against the Exodus.
Okay, but according to the reference that I'm giving you, is this scholar, is he saying it's a historical error? Is he saying it's not in concordance with the facts of history?
Well, yeah, according to this reference you're giving me, yeah, he obviously has issues with the biblical narrative, for sure.
Right, exactly right. Okay, now according to the Quran, Brother Dean, what was the verse that talks about the small band? If you could pull that up.
Yeah, it's Surah Shu'ara.
Yeah, right. So according to the Quran says that Pharaoh said that they were a small band of people, not 600,000, 3 million. The Quran changes this and it says that it was just a small band of people, which explains why we don't have such epigraphic and archaeological evidences and why no one mentioned it. Because if it was a small group of people, that's more in line with history, right? Now, if the Quran says that and it makes that conscious edit, would you agree that then the Quran's narrative is more in line with history as opposed to the biblical narrative, which, as you admitted, the scholar is saying it's not in line with history?
Well, I'm not arguing whether your Quran's narrative is more in line with someone's. Hold on, Leafy, you want a response?
Yeah, I want to respond.
None of this conversation here, right? What we're having here is about whether Muhammad's statements is more in line with someone's historical theories in regards to what the Bible is and isn't saying in regards to the Exodus narrative, right?
Wrong.
Because if you were to say this, then you would have to address my crucifixion claim. So I hope you will get consistent after this. Now I will be consistent. Now,
just wait. Just stop shifting to the crucifixion for just 2 seconds, bro.
I'm not shifting.
Yeah, no, don't bring up the crucifixion. When I'm done with this, I'll let you go to the crucifixion. Yeah, don't bring up the crucifixion. Right now, we're talking about the Exodus, so stick on the Exodus.
Okay, fine. All right, great. So now let me finish what I was saying about
the Exodus. Yeah. Go ahead,
let me finish what I was saying about that. So this has nothing to do with what historians claim about the Exodus narrative. This has everything to do with what the previous scriptures claim about the Exodus narrative.
Nope.
You like Dean, where you believe that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is the Injil. Leafy,
just wait before we get there, because you didn't answer my question.
Establish what it is that you're talking about before I talk to you. So do you believe Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is the Injil?
One second. I have the same exact position as Dean. All right, that's the first one.
So you believe Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy?
Life, please don't talk over me, bro.
Hey, Leafy, you believe Genesis?
Brother, look, it's 2:30 in the morning. I'm not here to talk over you, bro. You're gonna let me finish what I speak, and I'm gonna let you finish.
I need to know what you believe, Leafy.
I will tell you. I'm not gonna hide my beliefs. I'm not doing taqiyya, bro. I'm not a Shia. All right, so you can chill. I'm gonna talk, and I'm gonna let you talk. Cool, but we're not talking over each other. All right, so. Here, the Quran is saying that they're a small group of people. Every other historian, not just Shlomo Sand, all of them, literally all of them, like all the serious critical historians who've actually done excavations, they know that the biblical narrative is not correct. This 600,000 figure is simply wrong. It's not in concordance with history, right? Okay. The Quran corrects this, and it says that it was a small group of people, thus making it in line with history. Okay. Do you concede this point, or no. What? If you can see this point, then I can go to the crucifixion and deal with what you want.
I'm not even trying to go to the crucifixion anymore. You keep we can do that after. I'm not trying to run to the crucifixion. I'm directly responding to you.
Okay, so life. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a question. Just wait. I'm gonna ask you a question. Just wait, bro. Calm down. I'm gonna let you get to where you want to get to, but you gotta indulge me.
Speaking. As soon as I respond, you cut me off and say you're gonna let me speak.
Just wait, bro. I'm gonna let you speak, but you gotta let me speak. I'm gonna let you speak. I promise. So now when the Quran says that it's a small group of people, is that in line with the archaeological record? Because we have no epigraphical archaeological traces. So would we expect that to be on the hypothesis of a small group of people, or would we expect that on a large group of people, like 3 million people? Which one is more in line with history?
Leafy, I answered your question. You're going to have to allow me to respond. I'm not going to the crucifixion. There's no need for you to cut me off, okay? There's no need for you to cut me off, Leafy. Are we good?
I'm not cutting you off, but can you answer my question?
Connection went out or something? Okay. Listen, dude, I do not have an issue with historians writing things about their issues in regards to the Exodus narrative may or may not, making or not making sense, right? In accordance with evidence presented. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with them making a biblical case for that. I have no problem for them making a biblical case. A case against the biblical narrative as well. I have no problem with that. The issue is, do you believe Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy is the Torah? Your Quran says Muhammad is confirming.
Life. You didn't answer my point, bro. So, wallah, I'll get there. And I told you my position is the same as Dean's position. So I've already answered this question. But what I want you to do is to tell me on which hypothesis better matches the evidence. The idea that 3 million people left the Sinai, or it was a small group of people. Which one matches the evidence that there's no epigraphic, no archaeological traces, and the Egyptians don't mention it, and the nomads don't mention it? Which hypothesis better concords with history? Once you tell me that the biblical narrative is better matches with history, or the Quranic narrative better matches with history, or you say, I don't know, those are the three possibilities. Once you give me one of those answers, then I'm happy to move on to talk about whatever you want. You want to talk about crucifixion? We'll talk about crucifixion. You want to talk about Islamic dilemma? I'll talk about Islamic dilemma. But first, you have to give me one of these three options. I'm being very fair with you, bro. Clearly, please.
Okay,
clearly.
So let's try this. Let's try this again, because clearly you don't want your Islamic dilemma cracked open. You guys clearly don't understand what it is, so you try to make it something else and argue it. I'm gonna answer another time. I have no issues with historians posing theories in regards to why they have a dispute with the biblical narrative. Does that make their theories true? No. They just have an understanding of what they believe based on evidence presented. I do not have an issue with that. That doesn't mean the biblical narrative is wrong. That just means that according to history and historians, they have an issue with the evidence presented. I do not care if Muhammad is more in line or not more in line with the historian that makes a claim about the previous scriptures. And I'll show you how you don't either. Can you now? Can we? I answered the question.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You actually didn't, because I gave you three options. You didn't take a single one of them. Look, bro. There's three options. Either the Quranic account is more in line with history, the biblical account is more in line with history, or you don't know. You have to clearly take one of those options. You didn't take a single one.
You don't know if it's more in line with history. These guys don't get to tell.
Right, all right. You look, that's embarrassing, man. Look, guys, come on. I'm being really reasonable with him, bro. Aren't I? Like, I'm telling him, look, there's three options. Either the Quran is more in line with history, the Bible is more in line with history, or you don't know. Those are the only three options. He's telling me, look, I don't care what these secular scholars say if they seem to have an issue with the Quran. That doesn't answer my question, bro. So, Life, I'm gonna give you one more chance, bro. One more chance, because it's 2:30 at night. I'm gonna give you one more chance, Life. Take one of the three options, and then you can expand, right? But what you're not gonna do is tell me, oh, I don't have an issue with what the historians say. Okay? Clearly, take one of those three options and we can continue the convo. And once you answer properly, I can move on to crucifixion or whatever you want. Otherwise, we're just going to end it right here. Right? I'm going to let you come back up and I'm going to let you answer one more time. Take one of the three options. Go ahead, bro.
All right. So clearly, Leafy's not the one to be able to talk to. No, the answer is no. Your Quran is not more in line with history.
Wait, just wait. So you believe that the biblical account of 3 million people moving from Egypt into the Sinai is more in line with the history when there's no epigraphic evidence, no archaeological evidence. The Egyptians don't mention it, even though they mention every other movement, and the nomadic tribes also don't mention it, and they mention every other movement. You think that's more in line with history than the Quranic account, which says that it was a small group of people?
Do your guys have evidence for the latter?
Brother, I'm asking you a question. That's what you believe. That's what you...
Do your guys that you read, their historians, do they have evidence for the latter? Or are they posing a theory based on evidence?
They have evidence. Yeah, do you want me to show you the evidence?
You just did.
I'll go through it with you right now.
Wait, hold on, bro. Didn't you just
one historian?
Wait, Leafy, didn't you? No. I'm not. I don't care about what the historians say. I told you, I understand that a historian
don't care about what the historians say.
Here.
Bro, I know you don't care about
give me a second. Let me ask a clear question.
I don't think you understand what's going on.
It seems like. Wait. Life. 1 second. It seems like
he asked me to answer the question. I did.
We're going in circles here, Life. You're saying, oh, but that's what the scholars say. Okay, I want you to answer this question. Would we expect evidence for an exodus that big at the time of Moses, peace be upon him? Would you expect evidence of an exodus so big that there's 600,000 men, excluding women and children? Would now expect it today to find epigraphic evidence, archaeological evidence, etc.?
I don't know. Not necessarily.
What kind of intellectual debility, imbecility, pusillanimity is this?
I don't think anything back then.
Not necessarily.
I don't think any. For example, I don't think anything back then. I don't think anything back then, as far as like a big story or narrative, has to have full blown like evidence that you guys are claiming, like what you guys are asking for, in accordance with what these historians are disputing. That's irrelevant to the point.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And this is what I'm saying.
There's zero evidence. There's zero evidence. That on full blown evidence. There's zero evidence of an exodus that big.
Just wait.
Regardless, you guys.
Just wait 1 second. So I want to understand your position. You're saying the fact that there is no evidence to back up the biblical account, that's irrelevant. That's what you're telling me.
Leafy, bro. Stop muting me, bro. Please. Can I talk?
Yeah, but can you answer my question?
All right,
You're
yeah,
telling me
because
that
I don't
there's no
know. I'm
evidence is
confused here
irrelevant.
because I'm confused here because I've answered the question.
Nope.
I've also given you my position on the issue, which I told you I have no problem with that. I have no problem with the theory from historians and multiple historians that make the case for a while. This seems odd because we have no. It seems odd because of evidence presented. That's fine. That can be dissected and looked into.
Look, when I tell you to chill, bro, stop talking. All right.
All right, bro.
Told you.
All right, Dean. I appreciate it. I'll holler at you in a minute. You keep muting me. You muted me 8 times since I've been up here, bro.
Yeah, because you keep
muted
talking.
me 8 times since I've been up here, dude. I can't even talk to you
because I'm telling you to stop talking.
Because I'm gonna put historians in your face.
Oh, bro. All right, man. Okay, so guys, what I wanted him to do is to read this quote by the historian, but this guy, I don't know what he's doing. He just keeps yapping. So anyway, he ran away. So that's funny, but I'm gonna read it anyway. So this paper is called "Deconstructing the Walls of Jericho." It's written by Herzog. Now Herzog is an Israeli historian from the University of Tel Aviv. And what he did was he did land excavations, right? So he did land excavations in the land of Israel. And the reason why they did this is because they wanted to try and prove William Albright's theory. And William Albright was a Christian historian who wanted to prove that the biblical account was historical, right? He had a school of thought in his field, and it's called the Albright School of Thought. So this is what they said after their findings. So it says, quote, following 70 years of intensive excavation. Can you guys see, by the way, or should I zoom in? Dean, can you guys see or should I zoom in?
Sorry, Akhi. One sec. Yeah, zoom in on that.
Yeah, right. Okay. Following 70 years of intensive excavations in the land of Israel, archaeologists have found out the patriarchs are legendary stories. The Israelites did not sojourn in Egypt or make an exodus. They did not conquer the land. Neither is there any mention of the empire of David and Solomon, nor is the source of the belief in God of Israel. These facts have been known for years, but Israel is a stubborn people and doesn't want to hear about it. So they know that the exodus didn't happen. And he goes on to mention as well that if it did happen, it was on a minor scale. It wasn't on the biblical scale. Like the biblical narrative is nonsense. And he goes on to explain all the different evidences and theories. He goes on to explain the archaeology. He goes on to explain everything. He goes on to all of this with evidence, bro. He goes on to write a whole paper on it, right? He talks about the Exodus here very clearly. So all of this evidence is there. And at the end of it, he just says, like, look, the history as presented.
Leafy, I have a video. I think this is a lot better for showing this. You know, Inspiring Philosophy says, there's no evidence of a big exodus, but maybe there was a small one. Even though the Bible doesn't say that.
Yeah, exactly.
I got the video here. Let's watch it.
Okay, wait. Okay, cool.
The Exodus from Egypt never happened? He's a Berkeley professor, Michelle. They're all liars there.
There's no archaeology evidence for the Exodus?
Out of Egypt, they did not come.
All right. So this is what I was talking about here. So notice the shift of language. Now, when Dr. Hendel said that, I was like, okay, yeah, large scale. I mean, Kenneth Kitchen would agree with that probably. I mean, he argues that the numbers are either hyperbole or just been misunderstood. But then we get to the actual voices in the documentary talking, and it becomes there's no archaeological evidence, there's no evidence, and this is repeated throughout the documentary. There's no evidence for the Exodus, but Dr. Hendel said there's no evidence for this large-scale Exodus, which
so there's no evidence for the biblical's conception of the Exodus, but not the Quran's.
Right,
okay.
Right, exactly.
James Hoffmeyer, Kenneth Kitchen might agree with that terminology, but then that's translated into no evidence at all, and that is again repeated throughout the documentary. So there seems like there was a shift of terminology there. When I heard Dr. Hendel talk, I was like, okay, yeah. But then when I heard the documentary voices talking, like that was a little deceptive there.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, but by the way, you know Rob as well, when he was on our live stream, like the first time, when we asked him on the 600,000, he was like, oh, the 600,000 means something else. It's not actually 600,000. Like he just started coping.
Flashback.
The Bible says, how many people took part in the Exodus?
It doesn't say 600,000.
It says 600,000 in the book of Exodus.
No, that's a translation issue.
And Leafy, we literally had this conversation like an hour ago.
That's a translation issue. I'm more concerned. No, it's a translation issue because the translators are either not familiar with the latest in regards to Egyptian numerical values, or what's called hyperbolic ancient Near Eastern number systems.
Come on, man. Get the hell out of here with this garbage.
So it's funny how like the smart Christian apologists, they'll cope by saying it's not 600,000, but the dumb ones like this guy Life, he's not even tracking the conversation. He's like, no, the 600,000 is historical and like the evidence is nonsense.
What's your opinion with Archaeological for that? Quran does respond to biblical narrative, which means the Quran does not accept Bible as absolute. Bro, I actually face palmed when I brought up the point from Surah Qaf, and he was like, "Yeah, the author is editing it. I'll grant you the author's editing it, but he's getting it wrong. He's misunderstanding what the Bible is saying, etc., etc., etc." Oh, I should have pressed him on that point. I'm not gonna lie, because resting, I can, but resting, I can grant him. Resting, I can grant him. You can reinterpret that, no problem. But refreshing, bro, it says nafas. Like take a breath, bro. Literally take a breath, right? But yeah.
Yeah. So this guy wants me to pull up. No. I'm not pulling up to your live stream, bro. You got buried. You can't even answer the point. So look, God Logic. I know you're gonna be watching this later. So here's what I'm gonna tell you, bro. You can go to my channel. You can add my Discord. And we can talk about arranging a proper structured debate. And you can have neutral moderation. We can find someone to moderate who we both agree to. And I'm gonna speak and you can speak, right? But I'm not coming on your channel because your channel's filled with dumbasses, bro. I seen your channel. It's nonsense. You guys are too low IQ for me to engage with you intellectually or honestly. Rob, who came here, he's a higher tier debater than you. Like God Logic 2.0. I'm gonna say you're like D tier, bro. Like you got a few arguments that you regurgitate from God Logic, and that's about it. You ain't nothing special, bro. Rob is a little bit smarter than you, bro. He knows a little bit of scholarship. He's a little bit in tune, and I cooked him as well, right? You should watch my video on it where I cook him, right? And he had to cope by saying, no, the Exodus, it doesn't really mean 600,000, bro. It doesn't really mean that. So that's his cope. You're coping the other way by saying, no, it is 600,000, but the evidence is all just nonsense. So look, you guys need to get your story straight, first of all. And if you want to have a structured debate, bro, you can add my Discord and we'll set it up. No problems. About whatever you want. You want to talk about the Trinity? We'll talk about the Trinity. You want to talk about church fathers? Talk about church fathers. You want to talk about what's called Islamic dilemma? We'll talk about this. If you want to keep getting buried on the Exodus, I'll bury on that too. So anyway, guys, as you saw, this guy got buried. He got baked. It seems that none of these Christian apologists can solve the historical error present in the Exodus. So life the miskin. God bless his soul. My guy got buried on the Islamic dilemma with Dean, and then immediately he got buried again on the Exodus by me. I low-key feel bad, but not really, bro. Because this guy is a jahil murakkab. It's not just that he's ignorant, it's that he chooses to be ignorant. Because I brought up the same exact argument last time he came on the live, and he ignored it completely. He could have gone back, studied, looked it up, asked a friend, done something, but no. Ask you the exact same question a few days later, and you still have no answers. You still don't know what's going on. You have no clue. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you guys did, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Inshallah, I'll be uploading a little bit more regularly from now on. So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.